de que Lula possa concorrer.
Rio de Janeiro, em Southeast Brasil.
Hello everyone, this is Angela and welcome to my channel, Angie the ENTJ. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and click on the notifications bell so that you'll know whenever I upload any new content. Oh goodness, in today's brief video, I'm going to react to the news coverage about an elderly Dusty, a geriatric Dusty who goes by the name of, they say it's Antoine, but it's spelled like Antoine Lane. Look, brief backstory on him. This Dusty took a flight from Georgia to his ex-wife's home in Dallas, Texas, and R-worded her. He R to the A to the P to the E, graped her back in 2021. See, y'all, this is the reason why you need to carry heat. And ma'am, I'm talking about his ex-wife, whoever you are, I hope that you will fully recover from this trauma. And the purpose of today's video is so that your experience will not be in vain. See, we're going to use this as a teachable moment to save others from what you unfortunately had to experience and go through with this Dusty dude. Now, going back to him, you see, this Dusty has not been married since the early 2000s to this woman. This time, like the early 2000s, was in the eye of the, we are the most desirable and we're the most picked and we are the ones with the most options. It was during the eye of that season for them. During the peak of it. I said I because I was thinking hurricane, but the terminology is actually, that was when it was peak season for them. Because what they would do back then, up until recently, was to cycle through one woman after the other. This is why they tended to have an ex-wife, multiple baby mamas, and then when their heads begin to gray or turn white, like this Dusty's beard, that's when they would want to sort of behave okay, act a little bit friendlier, and get married to another woman. So let's watch this news story and then I'll be back.
Only on 13, our Liliana Pearson spoke to the prosecutor who helped put a man behind bars after he broke into his ex-wife's apartment and sexually assaulted her. And in fact, Liliana, you were told that on the same day that he pled guilty to intentional manslaughter in Georgia, he actually flew here to Texas to attack her? That's right. We're told that the victim and the person who is now charged had a brief marriage in the early 2000s in Georgia, but that they got divorced and the now ex-wife moved to Texas for a new life. Then between the early 2000s and 2021, we're told that the person who is now charged had about 30 encounters with police, which led to 5 felony charges. One of those felony charges was for murder. We're told that he hired one man to murder another. That murder charge was eventually appealed and overturned, but he did then plead guilty to intentional manslaughter in 2021. We're told the day that he took that plea deal, he then hopped on a plane, flew to Texas, and attacked his ex-wife.
Whew, y'all, I had to pause it for a second. You see, they do all of that talking about how they have better options and that they're high-value men and how they can find a better woman to be with. Listen. All of that is just a ploy to keep black women, in particular, low enough for them to reach. You see how they were so upset about us wanting to go on a date to a place that is more elevated than the Cheesecake Factory, right? However, look at how they move. When it's time to hire a hitman, when it's time to find a pew-pew to take out your mother and your 2 sisters, one of whom is an attorney, meanwhile, you're Dusty, but y'all were raised in the same home, And so when time moves on and y'all are all in your 40s and your 50s and people start leaving inheritances, they're leaving it to your sister, the attorney, and not to your Dusty, criminally minded felony having multiple back-to-back stints in the joint behind. And so, they get mad and want to go get a pew-pew because they're not getting something. They're not willing to work to earn. And even if you hand it to them, it'll be lost within that generation because they're not willing to work to pay the taxes or to keep it up or anything like that. Yeah. That happened in Mississippi, y'all. Yeah, that happened. I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent. So like I was saying earlier, when it's time to commit a crime, when it's time for them to get onto a flight, pay for car rentals and Ubers just to get into this woman's home whom you divorced 2 decades ago. See how they come up with the funds then.
Antoine Lane is accused of abusing his ex-wife as long as he has known her. This jailhouse phone call given only to ABC 13 detailing one harrowing night where he strangled her in the early 2000s.
And when I choked her, she passed out. When she passed out, I panicked. You know what I'm saying? I thought she was dead.
But Tiana Sanford with the Montgomery County DA's office tells us it was the final attack in 2021 that pushed his ex to the limit. The same day he pled guilty to intentional manslaughter in Georgia, he hopped on a plane, went to his ex's house, and raped her.
He did so while threatening her life, threatening injury towards her.
During the violent struggle, she was thrown into her bathroom wall so hard she went through it. She was able to go to work the next day where she decided this was the last straw. She confided in a coworker and Lane was arrested at her house.
But she shared with the jury that she thought, what if the next time I don't get out of the house? What if I don't make it out of the house the next time?
During the court proceedings, Lane would go through 5 attorneys, the last of which he attempted to physically attack. The jury reviewed Lane's previous record and current case. They found him guilty, and he will now serve life in prison. He's eligible for parole in 35 years.
This defendant has a pattern of rules not applying to him, a pattern of not taking no for an answer and demonstrating that he does not care who he harms in the process.
We're also told in that year leading up to the 2021 attack that there was one consensual visit between the two. Investigators say during that visit that Lane actually installed hidden cameras inside the victim's smoke detectors and was monitoring her. We're told it's video from those hidden cameras that did help ultimately put Lane behind bars.
See, this is what they really need to be talking about. Instead of talking about how we want to go out on dates with other men on top of that, not even them, with other men, all up in our business. See, all of that is a ploy to keep black women low enough for them to reach in particular. That's why even though black women have thankfully started swirling and thank goodness have divested, I'm talking about the old school divested, not the hijacked divested movement, the old school divestment, what that stood for. Thank goodness that's been going on. Okay, so why are they interfering all up in what we're doing when we ain't even doing it with them? It's because they want to keep the black women low enough. But when it's time for them to commit harm, look at the extent that they go to. This dude caught a flight from Georgia to Dallas in order to go into this woman's house, beat her up, and take advantage of her, R-word her. See how they come up with the funds then? This right here shows how their dustiness is very intentional. And if he would have impregnated her, y'all, I don't know if it went that far, but they didn't cover that in the news. So I'm assuming it didn't happen, and I hope it didn't. But just think if he would have impregnated her, considering the fact that she's residing in Texas, then she would have been forced to have his baby. All of these criminals combined with anti-abortion laws and the politicians that push them, all of this is just a very deliberate attempt to keep the ability of women to play an active role in determining the destiny of a society from our hands. And listen, the way to get around it is to speak to them in a language that they understand. And when I say the way to get around it, I'm talking about I'm speaking particularly of the violent criminals, Okay, when you're dealing with a violent criminal, you have to speak to them in a language that they understand. Like me, I'm fluent in 38 Special, the concealed version. It's a concealed language. And here's my certificate of authenticity, if you know what I mean. Because it's a concealed version, I can only show a portion of the certificate where it's stamped, where you can see that it's 38 Special. So, it's all right to carry some heat wherever you go, especially during the summer of, Daquan starting to realize he ain't getting none. See, Daquan ain't getting none. You see how they're tiptoeing back over here stateside after they created a global dust storm with their passports, right? So anyway, listen, learn from the ex-wife in this situation. You broke up for a reason. These males are coming with the, can we still be friends? Listen, let me translate for you so you'll know what can we still be friends means. Okay, so what he's really asking is, can I come back to you once I found out that there's no one better than you in these streets? Even though I'll be older, unhealthier, with high blood pressure, blown kidneys because I'm not treating the high blood pressure. I got liver damage from all that, alcohol consumption, overconsumption, that is, alcohol overconsumption, and diabetes to the point where I'm going blind and getting limbs amputated, along with having multiple child support orders against me. Can I come back to you? Okay, and will you still love me? Can we still be friends? That's what that can we still be friends means. In the vast majority of the cases, ladies, listen, you have to understand that your uncompensated labor, even when you're unemployed and you're living with somebody and you're quote unquote helping out, okay, your uncompensated labor is worth on average $200,000 per year. This means that your niceness is worth $1 million every 5 years, $2 million every decade. So you know what? This Dusty realized that when he and the ex-wife broke up, him looking backwards, they've been apart for 2 decades. That's $4 million worth of uncompensated labor that he didn't have access to. That's what can we still be friends means. Don't sleep on what it actually means for them to be in a relationship with you, ladies. They're not even following their own Bible. They're quick to come with the wives submit to your husband and you need to be submissive. But listen, even Jacob worked 14 years for his cousin Laban in order to be able to marry Rachel. That story can be found in Genesis chapter 29, verse 20 through 35. Okay? First book of the Bible. If the Jacob and Rachel story happened during today's times, this is what it would mean. Because the average American salary is around $60,000, about $59,000 and some change, but let's round it up for $60,000 for the sake of simple math. Jacob had to work for 14 years, so 60,000 times 14 is $840,000. He had to give up $840,000 in labor. Well, he really didn't give it up, but you know what I mean? He had to work $840,000 worth of labor in today's time in order to be able to marry Rachel, the love of his life. You see, I digress. So my point is that, ladies, and I know that there are men listening in, actual real men. I do have some of my subscribers are real men. Listen, for those of you who care about your female relatives, your daughters, your mothers, your aunts, female cousins, nieces, and so forth, listen. Every 5 years on average, ladies, our uncompensated labor is worth more than $1 million. Not only that, it supplements the nation's economy, meaning that without it, the economy will collapse. Which is why on June 24th, 2024, ladies, I recommend that you don't lift a finger, compensated, uncompensated alike, and you don't go shopping because they're playing with us. June 24, 2024 will be year 2 of the anniversary of the overturning of Roe versus Wade. You cannot have us in this society laboring uncompensated. Then when we talk about, for those of us who do work and pay taxes, we're paying taxes into a system that is stripping us of our rights. No, we're not doing anything. We can watch this economy collapse. The women of Iceland did it back in 1975 on their long Friday when they were underappreciated, when they were taken for granted. They stopped work, or rather they said they took a day off. They called in sick. And by that evening, their economy was collapsing. So on June 24th, ladies, don't lift a finger. And on top of that, what I want you to do is make sure you hold your head high. Make sure your shoulders are back and know that you are in control of your own labor and your own time, that the average man, by comparison, would have had to earn a degree in something heavy like computer engineering in order to come close to matching with his salary what you're doing for 5.7 hours per day, 39.9 hours per week. You see, that's why this Antoine Lane, whatever his name is, that's why he wanted to stay in close proximity to his ex-wife, who he hasn't been married to in 2 decades. So that's all I have to say for now. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and click on the notifications bell so that you'll know whenever I upload any new content. Take care until next time, and make sure that, you stay fluent in 38 special and 9mm and so forth. All right, take care until next time.